Welcome to everyone. For those of you I haven't met, my name is Maggie Palmer. I run Pep Talk Her. I'm on a mission to close the gender pay and leadership gap because I think that they're outrageous. And I actually can't believe we're still talking about this in 2024, but here we are. I am in a different location today. I'm actually in New York City. Dr. Ella Bell, who, if you do not know her, she's amazing. She's a professor on gender and equity at Dartmouth University. She very kindly invited me to a roundtable today. And so that's why I'm at MetLife. They're kindly given me an office. I've sort of ducked away from the roundtable to speak to all of y'all. So hello. So anyway, that's a fun thing which I will write about in a newsletter and fill you in. But there's some amazing leaders here from different corporations, and we're all sort of sharing stories. And Ella Bell, again, look her up. She's amazing. She's my inspiration. She's one of many inspirations, but she talks about being a co-conspirator. So she's really encouraging all of us to get out there and co-conspire with each other to make the world a better place, which I love that framing. So more about Ella Bell in a future newsletter, and welcome to everyone joining us. If you'd like to turn your camera on, I would love to meet you. If you want to be audio only, that is cool too. This is a safe place. If you've got kids, if you've got pets joining us, they are very welcome. It's PG content, so everyone is welcome. We'll keep this snappy. If you've got questions, let me know in the chat below. A couple of people who know each other are catching up with in the chat, which we love to see. If you want to share your LinkedIn in the chat, if you've got an ask for the group, please go ahead, pop it in the chat, pop it in the Facebook group as well. Like, I want this to be your community. I want you all to connect. You know, it can be difficult, right? Doing your professional life alone. And so a big part of the reason why we run these challenges is because we want folks to connect and get to know each other. And like, you know, when I have jobs, I always share it with my mastermind or with a newsletter. And I would love for this to kind of be a continuation of that community. But today is day 2 of the Know Your Worth challenge. Uh, if you've done the challenge, let me know with an emoji in the chat. If you haven't, there's no shame in that. I'm going to talk you through it now. So that's the good news. This is a super quick challenge. I like to try and keep all of the challenges 5 minutes or less. Today is no exception. So today is all about like, what did you have for dinner last Wednesday? If you can let me know, pop it in the chat below. Because candidly, you're a hero. I can tell you what I had last night. It was Thai takeaway. It was delicious. But I don't know what I ate on Friday. Don't know what I ate on Thursday. Like, definitely couldn't tell you what happened last Wednesday. You know, because like my brain's got stuff going on. I've got meetings to get to. I've got clients to talk to. I've got, you know, sales calls to have with our different corporate clients. We're thinking about International Women's Day. I'm thinking about the challenge and how do we make this all as impactful for you. There's a lot going on. And it's the same for you, right? Like, there's a lot that happened between your last performance review and today. And there's a lot that's going to happen between today and your next performance review. And unless you have a super amazing brain, which I'm sure you do, but unless it's like a photographic brain that remembers every single detail, it's really tough, right? And so what I want you to do today is to start to think about, are you tracking? Are you truly tracking and keeping a record of all of the successes that you're having at work? That's the purpose of today's challenge, is to think about what are those successes at work that you're having, and are you keeping track of them? And welcome to everyone who's joining us. I can see Cassie's just joined us. Hello. So one of the things that we launched 5 years ago with Vogue is the Pep Talker app. You can download it, Apple Store, Google Store. It's totally free. It's part of the impact work that we do at Pep Talker. I don't know how to build an app. I figured it out thanks to a friend who's a product manager who helped me. But we built the app, and it's kind of like a period tracking app, but instead of tracking your cycle, it tracks your career. That's kind of how like a Fitbit, but for work. That's what I say to the men. When I'm talking to women, I say it's a period tracking app because most folks understand what I mean. So it's really meant to be a place where you can kind of keep all of those wins in one place. So if you get a piece of feedback from a board advisor, if you get a piece of feedback from a colleague, specifically from your boss or someone more senior, I want you to go ahead and screenshot that, and you can upload it into the Pep Talker app, right? If organize a sick event, like a really cool event, take a photo of it, upload a photo to the app, and then you don't have to think about it again because you've got a place where you've collated it all the memories are there. If you sell an extra $20,000 to a client, put it in the app. If you fire someone who wasn't working out, and that's like a good thing, your boss was happy that you removed them off the team, put that down. Like, hard work, easy work, fun work, tough conversations, all of that counts as things that you need to remember when you're having your performance review with your boss, right? Because, I was actually thinking today when I was at this round table with Ella and all these other women at the MetLife building in Manhattan, one of the things that really resonates with me that I've never forgotten, that someone said to me maybe 5 years ago, which is, in terms of your career, like, no one's coming to save you, really. Like no one is coming to save you. I hope and I pray and I wish for you to have the most amazing boss who mentors you and sponsors you and gets you that amazing job. Fingers crossed. But like for 9 out of 10 of us, that's just not what happens, right? And so, but here's the good news: you all can save yourselves, right? Like you can design your career, you can have those conversations, you can get the data, the meat on the bone that you need to have a successful performance review conversation. You can start to track metrics now so that in 6 months, in 6 weeks, in 9 months, when it's salary review time or bonus time, you're not just going to accept what they give you, you're going to go on with an expectation ahead of time. And we talk about this a lot in the Career Level Up program. It's not just the conversation itself, it's the breadcrumbing that you do in the 6 to 12 months ahead of time. Like 3 months ahead of time. Hey, Joanne, I'm excited to have a one-on-one with you. I'm really proud of X, Y, and Z that I've been tracking in the app. Here's the, month-on-month cost. Here's the increase on our SEO, blah, 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 whatever the metrics are. Can't wait to have the, further discussions as we get closer to compensation remuneration time. Like we're going to kind of like set expectations. Hey, you don't just get to give me what you think is like everyone else is getting, because I'm not everyone else. I'm actually exceptional and I expect to be treated accordingly. Right. And so a big part of what we talk about at Pet Talker and in our programs, the Career Level Up and our mastermind, is like we have to treat people how to treat us as well, right, in the workplace. And so today's challenge is all about tracking those wins. Like you can use the Pep Talker app. It's totally free. If you've got something else that you want to use, I really don't care. I don't care. The app's free, so that's great. But if it's something else, I don't care. I just want you to use it. I just want you to track something. The good thing about the app is it'll send you like a notification. It'll be like, Leah, what's up? What are you really proud of this week? Or like, hey, Kath, what happened this week that you want to remember to tell your boss at performance review time? Right. So, but again, it could be an email folder. It might be a Google Doc. Really doesn't matter. I just want you to track it somewhere. And if you're looking at the app and you're like, oh, what's a win? What does that even mean? Like, I don't even know. Like, think about metrics, percentages, dollar signs, year on year. If you're a teacher, maybe have you had some parent feedback? Has your class this year been different to last year? Have you troubleshooted an issue? Have you had to put out some fires for your boss? Did you travel to a new client? Did you get some positive feedback? Did you save money? All of these sorts of things are really, really relevant. Maybe you hit a target early. Maybe you contributed to culture, right? Perhaps you're involved with your employee resource group, or maybe you mentored the intern, which was amazing. Maybe you've organized a monthly happy hour for your team, which has made the NPS of your team go up. Or maybe just your bosses noticed it and they were like, hey, thanks for doing that. I didn't have time. I appreciate it. All of these little things collectively add up to be a big part of the reason why hopefully they want to retain you. And as part of that, as we'll get to further throughout the challenge, as a result, they need to pay you more for that, right? Or compensate you more, or your benefits can be different, all those sorts of things, right? So it looks different for everyone, but having meat on the bone and data, just going in and saying to your boss, hey, I'm Meggie, I'm awesome, I'd like more money, cute, but everyone's doing that, and like Canette and Bianca and Sydney, you're not everyone. Like that's not how we're rolling, right? And sometimes people say, well, if you're not an extrovert, it's really hard to have these conversations. It is really hard. It's not always easy. And that's why you're here, because we're going to learn how to do that in a safe environment where it doesn't matter. Like if you don't put anything in the app this week, it doesn't matter because you've got time before your performance review, right? We're going to have it stack throughout this week of the challenge, bit by bit by bit. And we're going to improve over time. So if you're looking at the Pep Talker app and you're like, oh, what's a win? Like, I don't even know. What do I even do? Who even cares? Similarly to yesterday we texted a friend to get feedback about our strengths. And maybe you want to add that to the app, by the way. So today, if you're looking at the app and you're like, oh, I don't even know, text a work colleague and be like, hey, I'm getting in early. I'm thinking about performance review time, like ahead of schedule this year. What do you reckon is the biggest achievement I've had that I should track over the last couple of months? Because they might be like, oh my gosh, remember when you were working with Sony and then they said, let's bring Spotify to the table as well. And that was because of you. You could be like, oh my gosh, I forgot that meeting. Yes, let me put that in. Right. Or remember when that partner didn't want that consultant on the team, but you really pushed for them because you said, hey, this is a team of all white men. That's inappropriate. I want to really improve the diversity of this team. And the client was really thrilled. That was your idea. Put that in the app. Right. So if you don't know, if you're struggling to figure out how to track those wins, just get some help. put something in the Facebook group and we'll brainstorm it with you, right? Reply to us in the emails. Like I literally read every email because I'm a nerd like that. Like be like, Meggie, I don't know. Like just email us and I'll brainstorm back and forth with you. You can just send me your LinkedIn and I'll come up with some ideas that I've seen other clients do. Right. So just that's all I want you to do today is to think about like, and sometimes people say to me, well, Meggie, I'm a marketing manager. Obviously, I send out the weekly emails or obviously I post on TikTok. Yeah, but like it doesn't really matter. It's still, even if it's obvious to you, don't forget to other folks that might be amazing or incredible. And also, you've got to reiterate this to your boss. Like, because, I manage a team. I'm sure some of you manage a team. You've got personal lives. You've got family dramas. You might have kids. You might have a dog. You might have a garden. You've got Netflix to watch. You've got friends having divorces, having issues, whatever. There's a lot going on. So, like, I'm not always thinking about the minutia of every single person on my team's job description. And so, actually, when they come to me and say, hey, Maggie, this is what I did today. I'm really proud of this. I'm like, oh, that's actually good. You've saved me some time. Thank you. That's actually helpful for me as well. So, think about this as well. Like, this is not you being high maintenance or whatever. You're actually collating this so that it's good for you, but it's also good for your boss because you can then present a very clear case for your performance review as to the impact you've made to the team. And we want to reiterate that. Like humans, we forget. I forget what I had for dinner last week. Your boss forgets the awesome things you did in December. Like that was December. He or she's moved on, right? So it's our job to keep it front of mind for them, all the awesome things that you're doing, such that when it comes to promotion time, when it comes to comp review, you are front of mind for all the awesome, epic contributions that you're making. So if you've got questions about that, pop that in the chat and let me know. I love this. Sydney's loving the breadcrumbing idea. Here's some extension work. I wasn't going to mention this, but I feel like we should because I think this is helpful. And I feel like I can see that there's Leah and Meenakshi and Cecilia who've been through this challenge and they've also been through our paid program as well. So they'll appreciate this too. The other thing you can do, if you're tracking all this stuff in the app, right? Like, I increased sales or I sent 3 EDMs and it had a 45% open rate, whatever. If you want monthly, you can send what I call an FYI only email. Okay, so let me actually, Kim, do you want to just pop, Kim on my team, would you mind just popping in the link to the chat, the FYI only email kind of link? We've got a link with a free download. So basically what that is every month you'd be like, dear Susan, hope you're looking forward to the weekend with the kids. I know that you're taking them ice skating. That's so cool. So just like connection. So the purpose of an FYI only email is we're going to connect at a personal level. We're going to talk about how awesome we are, and then we're going to connect at a personal level, right? So, hey, Susan, I hope you're looking forward to ice skating with the kids. So cute. Just a quick update on my end. As discussed, the Novartis program is running really well. Here's the feedback. They're thrilled. Awesome. Tom wasn't working out. So we've agreed that after his probation period, we won't extend the contract. Both parties seem happy with that. I'll be taking leave next month and I've arranged for Silvana to cover. So there should be no issues there. Any dramas that are red flags, you can always call me on my cell phone. Really looking forward to seeing you at the team meeting when I get back. Have a great weekend. So it's nothing crazy. It's kind of fairly simple. And I think you'll see, Kim's put the link in the chat. That kind of explains it in a bit more detail as well. But yeah, it's an FYI only email. It's a way for you to connect with your boss. So let's say you send that once a month. And you might send it on Teams, you might send it on Slack, depending how your boss likes to communicate. If you send that once a month, don't send an essay because it'll be annoying. Like snappy, dot points to the point. Let's just get in and get out. If you send that once a month, that's like 10 to 12 touch points over the year. So then by the time you get to performance review time, by the way, copy, paste, you kind of got it all because you've been collating it in the app. You sort of send it in the FYI only emails. And also, if they've got a problem with you, that is 12 opportunities for them to tell you, So you could also do this in person, by the way. You could flip it to the FYI only 101 catch up, like do it however you want. I don't mind. But like giving people an opportunity to be like, I didn't want you to fire Tom. He didn't work here, but I was supposed to send him to graphic design department, and then you're like, good catch, no problem. Let me get on a call. I'm going to wind that back. Don't worry. So it also gives them an opportunity to be like, that was wrong. And that's fine. We're happy for feedback so we can fix it. So that's another little, I'm going overboard because I didn't want to kind of confuse things today, but I think that that's like really helpful. And a lot of people find that a very interesting tool to start to use. Yeah, Perna's loving that as well. Great, great, great. Yeah, it is a good tip. Let me know how you go. if there's, I know that we've got some former folks who've heard me talk about the FYI only email. Leah, Cecilia, if you've got experience, if you want to pop in the chat and let folks know how that's worked out for you, that could be really helpful as well. We've got Meenakshi who's joining us here today. I'm going to pin you, Meenakshi, because you're looking fabulous as per usual. But I wanted to introduce you all to Meenakshi because she's been through the challenge. I actually think you've done the challenge 2 or 3 times. But you've also been through our 8-week career level up program. And I think it's always helpful for folks to understand, like, why would I need that? And some people don't need it and some people do. And so I always just love to introduce the community to other folks who've been in our community for a couple of years. Because when you and I met, you were in sort of a turning point in your career, but you've kind of had massive jumps since. What do you think was the thing about the career level up and like the Pep Talker community that shifted things for you?
Before I go into the program, to be honest, I want to say, and I've probably not said this to you in many years, Meggie, I'm so grateful to have you in my life. I met Meggie through Work Codes, which my company organizes, and she was one of the speakers. I was just immediately drawn to her energy, and I contacted her on LinkedIn, and that's how I got in touch. It was a few years ago. I don't remember now, maybe 5 years ago or something.
Yeah, it's where we launched the app at Vogue Codes. I can't believe
Yeah,
that
I
feels
think I
like
was
so
one of
long
the
ago.
initial
Yeah,
members,
yeah.
right? So I got onto the program when she talked me through. And program is one thing. I think it's your energy, Meggie, that I regularly need a dose of. And yes, I did the program. It was a big turning point for me. Not just the tools, but Maggie's energy. And whenever I need a dose of it, I come back to this program. And I've actually this year started in the mastermind as well, because I needed another transformation for myself. And I think Maggie's energy works just wonderful for me or for anyone.
Oh,
She's
you're very kind.
genuinely care about you. I've done many other coaching programs as well through my company, which, they kind of sometimes encourage you to go through their programs, but I
Yeah.
haven't met anyone who's so genuinely interested. It's not just a tick in the box for Meggie. And that's probably makes a lot of difference. Through the program, not the app was a good turning point that I started using when I
Yeah.
first met Maggie, because I heard about
Yeah.
heard about the app and the work code. So it helped me really track. One of the things I remember from your program, Maggie, you said that we talked about performance review, and my performance review was just due at that time. It's about, setting up for success from the start. So it got me into that rhythm.
Right.
I used to have a fortnightly update, the FYI email that you talked about. I would send a fortnightly email to my boss with updates on the major things that he wanted me to achieve, but what is over and above as well. So really
Yeah.
being organized about this, and regularly as well. At the point of every quarter, I would do a summary of that as well. This is what I've achieved quarterly. So it reduced the amount of work for me at the end of the year to
Right.
really summarize everything. And after that, I think I got into that rhythm. They couldn't say no to me because whatever.
That's what we want. Yeah. We want that for
Yeah,
everyone
because
here. We want you to get to the point where your boss can't say no. That's kind of the goal. And that's why we're sort of drip feeding them. We're breadcrumbing them. We're just kind of, behind the scenes. I love it, man. Actually, that's so cool.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
is there do you feel comfortable sharing the range that your
Yeah,
salary has? I know I've seen on LinkedIn,
yeah,
because we follow each other on LinkedIn. You're always getting
yeah,
promoted. Like, is
yeah.
there an amount that you think your salary has shifted from when you joined the program a couple of years ago to now?
Nearly double, I would say. The
Really?
nearly
I knew it
double.
was a
I
lot. I
think,
didn't that wow. So that's
yeah,
6 figures for people
yeah,
who may not
yeah.
be. That's a lot. Okay.
Yeah, nearly double. And whatever figure, I think I was, you asked me to do the wish and want, but I still was modest, I would say. But whatever number I thought of, it kind of manifested, to be honest. And even when I was asking the first time, so the first time the salary shifted to a certain point, my previous manager was a bit reluctant, but at the same time, that exercise of salary sisters, that was one of the tools. I don't know if Maggie has talked to you about that so far, but that salary sisters tool really helped me to kind of benchmark the gap in my salary, and my team members who joined after me was like 70K. I was doing most of the
Yeah.
work in the name of development.
Yeah.
I was just getting more work, but not really any growth. And I think once I had that information and that fact, and I'm grateful to those people as well who actually shared with me while they were moving out of
That
the team. I
honesty.
was asking the question at the right time. So I think
Yeah.
that gap itself became my target that I have to go. Even after knowing that, I was actually reluctant to ask, even after knowing. I just felt like, as women, we kind of become very nurturing and we start thinking about the company that it'll be very difficult for them to give us 25% or 30% or 40% raise. But yeah, the first manager probably kind of didn't, and I was not even kind of asking for it. I did
Yeah.
have that number in my mind, but I wasn't asking for it. Whatever happened in the first go was fine. The second time when I was going for promotion, I did have that target in my mind and I wanted to. And the next manager, because I was not very caring
Yeah.
towards him, I asked that number. I was
Yeah.
still not hoping to get it because my company was only giving about 10% raise maximum. But because I had mentioned that number, somebody worked for me. And the next manager really fought because he really wanted me on board. And he really fought for me. I actually got more than what I asked for. That time I got a 40% raise. So over the time, it's kind of got me to more than, level, not just leveled up, but beyond that. So yeah, thank you,
Wow.
Maggie. I am more
Oh,
than thankful for having you in my life. And
oh,
yeah.
that's what I'm here for. This is what I love to see. And actually, I've just noticed Leah's here too. I'm gonna pin Leah too. I hope you don't mind, Leah. I'm gonna throw you in the deep end because I've just seen you join. But so this is like I love to hear this. And it's one of those things that because sometimes people meet me or they hear about the app or they follow us on Instagram or they join the challenge and they're like, no, but like that's not possible in my job or in our industry. That just doesn't happen. Or my team, you just don't get a raise. And like, I don't know if we've ever had that totally have it. Like sometimes you got to get creative for sure. But it's actually amazing what is possible when you have the strategy. So it's again, it's not like click your fingers today, it's going to be perfect. But what we do is it's a lot of like behind the scenes strategy and like positioning yourself. And to Meenakshi's point, it's like when you have that expectation, when you've vocalized that expectation, and we practice it in the course and like in a safe environment. So it's not because I don't want the first time that you ask to be in front of all of your bosses. Because like maybe you won't be putting your best foot forward, you might get nervous, you might break out into hives, which by the way is normal, all of those sorts of things. So we actually practice it ahead of time so that then by the time you get in there, you're like, yeah, obviously I'm looking for an at least 200K plus. That's my expectation. It just like rolls off the tongue because you practice it, it sounds natural. So then they're like, whoa, like she legit believes that. Oh my God, we better figure it out. Like we just gotta like back like just make it happen, you know. So I wanted to introduce you all to Leah too. Leah, I hope that's okay. I've just seen you in here. Leah actually moved countries after the course. But you went through the course and were able to use it to navigate actually a layoff, to negotiate as part of your layoff. And then you've actually used that to pivot and land a role in a new country. Like what was the one key thing for you that you think shifted? Because you were all, both of you were super impressive before you joined the course, but something changed in you, Leah. Like what was the biggest thing for you that shifted, would you say?
I naturally, I'm a people pleaser. So getting comfortable with being uncomfortable when directly stating your worth and holding space for there to be silence and allowing that to be uncomfortable. That is something I have immensely struggled with in the past. And it's one key takeaway that I continuously use in negotiations. Yes, when I went through a layoff to get through negotiations with the challenge that helped me not once but twice get two different promotions and pay increases within a 6-month period of time, to negotiate contract roles, and also in my current role right now, which I'm in the middle of a negotiation. Meggie, we'll be pinging you after. But understanding the power of silence, really using it to my advantage, is something that's immensely been helpful for me. And I'll just do a little asterisk for the Superwoman power pose, which is also something that has consistently just helped to remind me that it does not matter what country I'm in, it does not matter what necessarily role I'm in or transitional period, really being comfortable and standing up for what you want through leaning into those uncomfortable periods.
Love it, love it, love it. Yeah, you mentioned getting comfortable being uncomfortable. And part of, you know,
Yes.
even joining a challenge like this, I think is uncomfortable for some
Oh
people. It's
yeah.
like, what? And also sometimes you feel like, well, sometimes I think we feel we should know this anyway. It's like, well, why do I have to learn this? And honestly, it kind of annoys me that they teach us like trigonometry and algebra at school and they don't teach us about investing and negotiation and contracts. Anyway, that's my pet peeve. It's a story for another day. But yeah, I want to like pay kudos to everyone who's here because firstly, time is money and you're giving up your time to invest in yourself. So like that's not easy to take that leap. And honestly, I reckon 80% of folks never do that. Most people just cruise in their career and it's fine and it's good and that's great. But I know that if you're here, fine is not what you're looking for, right? Like you're really striving for great, excellent, preferably exceptional, out of the park, amazing, like OMG kind of situation. That's what we're going for.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I love, Hanya, who Meenakshi and Leah both know from the mastermind, she did our course a couple of years ago now. And one of the things that she said when she came into the course, you might meet her this week. I don't know if she can join, but she was like, I was just kind of dubious on like, the prospect of a quick accelerated career growth possibility and also career salary growth possibility. But she said the biggest thing for her was like the fact that actually that possibility is 100% available to you. And I don't know if that resonates with you, Leah, as well. Like the fact that it is possible, especially when you're surrounded with the energy, by the way, of everyone I can see in this Zoom room today. Like there's something magical that happens when you get great people in a room who are strategically focused on investing in themselves so that, yes, they can succeed and earn more and also do really cool stuff with that wealth that comes from it.
Yeah, absolutely. I would attribute most of my success from moving to a new country and being able to establish myself quickly and successfully has been through not only what I've learned, but the connections through Pep Talk Her. So big thank you to you, Meggie, but everyone else who's also a part of the community itself.
Oh, well, that's awesome. Well, I love to hear. If anyone's got questions for Meenakshi or Leah, you can pop them in the chat. You can DM them directly. You can put them in the general chat and we'll come to them. If anyone's just joining, today is really about focusing on one work success. So by the way, if you'd like to celebrate a work success and pop it in the general chat, we would love to cheer you on. What's one thing that we can celebrate? Work achievement that you'd like to celebrate today. It might have been from this week. It might have been from last month. But if you want to pop that in the chat, we'd love to celebrate that with you today. We would also love for you to share. If you haven't already, Kim will pop in the chat the link to the Facebook group. There's like, I think maybe 2,500 folks who've been through the challenge that have joined that Facebook group. If you don't have Facebook, that's fine. It's not for everyone. But if you do, you can connect with folks there. Folks who do go through, we have an 8-week course that I'll tell you a little bit more about tomorrow, but people that go through that program, we actually have a private Slack as well that Meenakshi and Leah and other folks are into. But for the challenge, we use Facebook because it's just a bit easier. So if you want to share your wins, if you want to brainstorm some other wins, maybe you want to write in the Facebook group, you want to share what you put in the app, and perhaps we could help you. Could we get that even more specific? Could we dive into more detail? Because it's one thing to say, brought in a new client to the business. It's another thing to say individually prospected and signed, the XYZ legal firm as a new client with a value of $45,000 at a 10% profit margin to the firm. Like that's very specific, and that's what we want, right? As much specificity as you're able to include is great, because that'll help jog your memory when it comes to performance review time. So you'll have all of that info there as well. Okay, so there's a question here, and I really appreciate any questions that are coming through. What do you do when you get told that older employees are going to be promoted first? How would you deal with that feedback? There's a bunch of ways that you could go about that, but to your point about it being very discouraging, you may not be there yet, but I would also have a really honest conversation. And if you've got the data, if you've been tracking stuff in the app or wherever you choose to track things, it's then very hard to say, that's so interesting to hear that Joanne has been promoted ahead of me. Here's the achievements that I've made this year. I'm trying to understand what else you need from me such that next time there's a promotion, I'm the first person you think of. So having that really candid conversation, and they might say to you, you know what, it's never going to happen. You got to wait 3 years. In which case, that's kind of good info, because you can either stay or you can be like, cool, thanks for that, and start to look for another job. Right now, there may be instances in which you do want to run it up the chain to HR, not always, and that we'd have to get into more details to understand that. But I do think it's not necessarily at this point for you necessarily, Rahini. But the other thing that I always say to people is you also have to be courageous and think sometimes when you hit roadblocks in your career, especially when you hit them repeatedly, is that the place for you long term? Like, are you truly going to be happy and feel valued and respected long term there? Maybe you can be if there's some changes, if you change some things, if they're willing to compromise, but maybe there's a time and a place for you to leap somewhere else potentially. So I don't know. We'd need to jump into the specifics more, but that's just something that I wanted to put out there as well. I know I've gone over time. It's supposed to be 15 minutes. I'm still going. So Sydney, so yeah, I'll talk to you more about the course tomorrow. I'll talk you through, but basically it's an 8-week course. I do live coaching every other week. You get to meet the cohort, people like Leah and Meenakshi, and I want to appreciate them. Thanks for joining the call. There's some other folks who are doing the challenge again. Cecilia is here. I know she's on audio only. So yeah, I'll talk to you about tomorrow a little bit more, but if you want, you can also, I'll just put Kim's email. You can actually just email me directly. I'll just put my email in the chat too. If anyone has questions about that or about today's challenge, you can just email me directly and I'll come back to you. And the goal of that is really, I mean, I won't say too much, but tomorrow's challenge, there's a monetary component, which I'm excited to share with you all when you get that email in a couple of hours. So hopefully just from this week, you're going to actually all end up with more money in your pocket. And certainly after the 8-week course, like as you heard from Meenakshi, it's been a couple of years since she did the course, maybe 2 years, but she's doubled her salary. Now that doesn't always happen, but it often does, which is cool. I'm pretty disappointed if people don't get more than $10,000 extra. Typically we see 30 to 60K, depending. Sometimes it's a little less and sometimes it's a lot more. We have had, I think, five different $100,000 plus pay increases. Again, that's not necessarily normal. It doesn't happen all the time. These are people who were earning 6 figures to start with, but still, that's obviously life-changing money for folks because of the impact that that makes on them and their family, which is exciting. So anyway, I love talking about this stuff. We could talk about this all day. If you've got any other questions, send them through in the chat or just email me directly. I'm just Meggie@peptalkher.com. And we'll be back the same time tomorrow. I'll talk you through the challenge. I'll explain a little bit more about the course. The cart opens for that tomorrow. And then the program itself starts in about 10 days from now. So like at the end of next week. So we'll talk more about that. But if you've got questions, let me know. So Jen's asking the question about like what industries are more likely to get pay increases. It depends. I will say it's a little tougher, but not impossible when you're in a banded job. So for example, often folks who are working for the government or education. We have had folks come through the program. I can see one of them's here joining us today who still managed to increase their benefits and or pay regardless, but that can be a little tougher. It's not impossible though. But you know, people in the course are in marketing, they're in finance, they're in tech, they're in consulting, they're in agriculture. I'm trying to think. Some of them are entrepreneurs. I would say 80% of folks are in professional jobs, like they work for someone else. Like we have an architect who's done really well. We have lots of lawyers actually, someone who's in the music industry, some folks who work at companies like Salesforce. So like big companies, smaller, like 5 to 10 person companies as well, because a lot of what we teach is like, yes, compensation, we're always looking for the money, but then there's other things you can negotiate as well, right? Which we'll talk about a little bit too. But yeah, I hope this has been helpful. Let me know in the chat, what's the one word that you're going to be taking away from the energy and the information in today's calls. I would love to hear that so that we can make sure that we lean into that further next time. Oh, hi, Samantha. I didn't see you on the call. Nice to see you. And yeah, make sure you track that success today. Let me know what it is in the Facebook group or via email. And we will be back at the same time tomorrow. Thanks so much, y'all. Really looking forward to, tracking and succeeding. We're loving this in transition. Very cool. Thanks for sharing. Conette's owning her success. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, everyone. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for investing in yourself. Here's to great things ahead in 2024, and I'll see you the same time tomorrow. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.